Diabetes is a chronic disease caused by an excess concentration of glucose in the bloodstream, also described as hyperglycemia. Diabetes comes from the body's lacking ability to produce insulin or its tendency to resist insulin, which is the hormone that metabolizes the glucose that enters your bloodstream when you eat food. If your body isn't making any insulin or utilizing it properly, all of the glucose you consume just stays in the bloodstream, which causes extreme thirst, nausea, headaches, frequent urination, infections, fatigue. The list goes on. There is no cure to diabetes, and diabetics need to constantly manage and regulate their blood glucose levels on a day-to-day, heck even hour-to-hour basis through insulin therapy to minimize symptoms and live a healthy, enjoyable life. This constant effort in managing diabetes can be exhausting and stressful. To put it into perspective, diabetes doesn't go away during sleep, and it's sometimes necessary to get up in the middle of the night to inject insulin to keep a healthy blood glucose level. As a matter of fact, half of all diabetics experience trouble sleeping because of their symptoms. With that being said, the biological problem is that diabetics need a continuous flow of insulin into the bloodstream to minimize their symptoms. The engineering problem is that managing diabetes isn't always optimal, and it's a huge burden. Diabetics need to constantly take insulin throughout the day, be on schedule, etc., and it's common for diabetics to forget to take their insulin. I find this topic interesting because I am actually type 1 diabetic, and I've gone through the burden of managing it for all 20 years of my life. I just think the innovations that scientists and engineers have made for diabetes treatment are quite fascinating. Now, the solution to this problem is a piece of technology called the Continuous Subcutaneous Insulin Infusion Delivery System, or simply referred to as the insulin pump. The insulin pump is a portable, computerized medical device that is attached to the body and is continuously and autonomously delivering insulin into the bloodstream. Essentially, the insulin pump is an artificial pancreas for diabetics, which makes minimizing the symptoms of diabetes easier and the management of diabetes far less of a burden. The pump has two main components, the device and the infusion set. Depending on the company, the insulin pump can be tubed or tubeless, but both types function the exact same. The infusion set is made of smaller components, the cannula, a small tube that pierces the subcutaneous skin layer of which insulin passes through to be injected into the bloodstream. The adhesive keeps the cannula and overall infusion set in place, and the tube, which is connected to the insulin cartridge. The materials in the infusion site interact with the human body and the synthetic insulin, so it is engineered to be biocompatible. The cannula can be made from either Teflon or stainless steel, both of which are non-reactive to human tissue and substances which prevent complications like inflammation and prevent bacteria growth. The device is what controls the delivery rate and dosage of insulin intake. With some software engineering and bioinformatics involved, the insulin pump delivers the appropriate rate and amount of insulin to the body based on some parameters that the pump user puts into the settings. Diabetics can also input a number of carbs being consumed or their glucose level, and the pump will deliver the proper dosage of insulin based on that carb count and glucose level. The insulin therapy that came before the insulin pump is multiple daily injections therapy, or MDI therapy, which involves injecting insulin with the syringe multiple times throughout the day. This has been a successful method of insulin therapy and is still widely used to this day. MDI is far more economically viable than the insulin pump. The insulin pump can be quite a hefty price, which can start at $6,000, which does not account for insurance, the cost of disposable infusion sets, or the cost of insulin. Putting all of that together, the insulin pump can cost up to $12,900 per year, while MDI therapy will cost up to $9,000 per year. The big issue with MDI therapy is the accountability that the user holds with it. The practice of MDI therapy is burdensome and leaves patients responsible for calculating their insulin intake, injecting insulin at the appropriate times, handling syringes, etc. This can be a problem, especially for young children or elderly people who couldn't be capable of handling such things without supervision. With the insulin pump's features, patients don't have to worry about that as much, and it takes the burden off, giving people a greater sense of freedom from the constraints of diabetes. And that leads me to the societal impacts of the insulin pump. The insulin pump has been reported to provide better levels of control in blood glucose levels. The insulin pump is capable of reducing significant variations in blood glucose levels over time. With that comes a better control of lifestyle. Patients that do MDI therapy need to follow mealtime and dosage schedules, while the pump offers more flexibility in this since the delivery of insulin becomes automated. This gives diabetics the ability to have a life in which their schedules don't have to revolve around following strict insulin intake schedules. Overall, this leads to a better quality of life. As reported in a study by the Indian Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, 89% of pump users feel more independent and less strained. Following a better quality of life comes better self-esteem, less stress, and better physical health. Now, wrapping all that up, I hope you guys did enjoy my presentation. I thank you for your time and watching. If you were curious about my sources and credibility, I have a transcript in the description which includes a list of cited references. Thank you all, and enjoy your day.